So I bought a new phone, the Google Pixel 5, and a few days ago I did a video of the top 5 things that I love about the Google Pixel 5. But in the interest of fairness and because nothing is perfect, today I'm going to share the top 5 things that I hate, or perhaps dislike, about the Google Pixel 5. Hey guys, it's Noel, and this is Wheezy Tech, and each week I take a look at a thing and let you know what I think, so if you're into that kind of thing, then make sure you subscribe. If you haven't seen my previous video, the top 5 things that I love about the Google Pixel 5, if you click up here, you can watch that one if you want to see that one first, or watch that one after this one, whichever way round you want to do it. Hey, I'm not your boss, you decide, so let's just get straight on with the video. At number 5, it's a small gripe, yeah sure, it's not a huge complaint. The Pixel 5 doesn't use hardware or on-screen back and home buttons, but instead uses a gesture navigation. Now, as I said in my previous video, I really like how intuitive this gesture navigation is. You swipe up to go to the home screen, or swiping from the side of the screen to go back to the previous page or application, but it is actually that back gesture that frustrates me the most, particularly when swiping through photos, where the difference between swiping to the next or previous photo or accidentally activating the back gesture is just a few millimeters. I often find myself swiping through images on a page only to accidentally swipe back to the previous page and then having to go back and start again. It's a small frustration, and it's something that I'm sure I'll get used to over time. And also, having said all that, gestures can be tweaked in the menus, and you can even return to the traditional 3-button navigation if you so wish, but that does seem like a bit of a cop-out. With the Google Pixel 4, Google decided not to include a wide-angle lens and instead included a regular lens and a telephoto lens, claiming that the telephoto was more useful than the wide angle. Google were widely criticized for this move, as most people said they would have preferred the wide angle instead of the telephoto. Now, call it backtracking or more likely listening to feedback, but for the Pixel 5, Google has dropped the telephoto in favor of the wide angle lens. On the one hand, this is a cost-saving measure to meet a certain price point, and I get that. In fact, I do find that the wide-angle lens is much more appealing than a telephoto would be most of the time. To combat the lack of telephoto lens, Google do have their super res zoom in the camera as a workaround, but this is just a form of digital zoom, and as with any digital zoom implementation, it's never going to meet the same quality as optical zoom. And looking at comparison shots of the telephoto lens from the Pixel 4 versus the super res zoom of the Pixel 5, there's a very clear and obvious loss of quality for zoomed in photos on the Pixel 5. Now, I don't buy a phone for its camera. I mean, I have my mirrorless if I want to take proper photos, but I can't help but feel like Google could have gone for a triple camera for the Pixel 5. But saying that, if the inclusion of a third lens would have driven the price up of the Pixel 5, I probably wouldn't have bought this phone anyway. Choices. Again, I'm sure this was another cost-saving measure, but the Google Pixel 5 is the first phone I have owned that has issued a dedicated headphone jack, and yet Google does not include a USB-C to 3.5mm dongle in the box. The official dongle is cheap enough at about £12, but I really feel that this is something that could have been included in the box. I don't particularly miss the headphone jack. Most of my portable listening is done via Bluetooth, and at home I'm listening through my dedicated hi-fi gear, and I don't even mind that you can't listen with the dongle and charge with a wire at the same time, because frankly the battery life of the Pixel 5 is excellent, and it also supports wireless charging, so I don't need to be plugged into power and listen at the same time. So dropping the headphone jack? Meh, I can live with that. But please, I wish you would have just included the dongle in the box. What really constitutes fast charging these days? Whilst the 18-watt charging of the Pixel 5 isn't slow, it is noticeably slower to charge than my old OnePlus 6, which could charge it up to around 25 watts, and it is considerably slower than some other more recent devices, such as the new OnePlus 8T that claims charging at up to 65 watts. It's not that big a deal, as 30 minutes on the charger is still going to give you hours of use, And what's more, by supporting wireless charging, it is much easier to keep the phone topped up whenever you just lay it down on your charging pad. But sometimes you do just need a quick injection of power, and you need it now. And 18 watts, yeah, it isn't slow, but in 2020, it's not really all that fast either. This is another rather personal gripe at the top of my list, just like my #1 favourite feature from my previous video. But this is my video. I control the order of my gripes. And my biggest gripe with the Google Pixel 5 is that Google has still not implemented creating folders in the app drawer. Yeah, it seems like such a trivial thing, but it's something that exists by default on many other brands' phones. Sure, you can create folders on the home screen, you can organise and tidy your apps into categories of your choosing, but when it comes to the app tray, it's just a jumble of clutter. You can scroll up and down through the tray, or sure, you can use the search to find the app that you're looking for. But I would much rather group similar apps together and organise the tray to my own unique organisational method. For example, grouping all of my banking apps or messaging apps into a single folder. Everything is then grouped and categorised in their rightful places, it just saves time, it looks more tidy, and I'm scatterbrained enough as it is, I can't be dealing with a messy app tray. Tidy app tray, tidy mind. Thankfully, as with most things, there is an app for that, and that's why I have used Nova Launcher on pretty much every phone I've owned, going back to probably since the app came out. And no doubt I'm going to continue to use Nova Launcher on the Pixel 5, but only once the new shiny novelty of the Pixel 5 is worn off. And that about wraps up my top 5 things that I hate or at least dislike about the Google Pixel 5. And if you haven't already, you can check out my other video of the top 5 things that I love about the Google Pixel 5, that'll be over in the sidebar. And make sure that you like this video if you liked it, double tap the dislike if you hated it, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, have a good one.